We give you an inside look at revolutionary fashion happening right here in Iowa City.
And later, I sit down with an Iowa City woman who fled Vienna during the Holocaust.
We have more on Iowa's loss to Wisconsin, and we give you updates on some of the Hawkeye Athlete Award winners.
And I've got an Iranian earthquake update and your extended forecast in weather.
All that and more is coming up.
DITV starts now.
Good morning and thanks for tuning in to this live Tuesday edition of DITV. I'm Christopher Cervantes.
And I'm Sydney Zatz. In an effort to identify and implement the university's 5-year strategic plan, President Harold has established one team to find and work towards those goals. The Path Forward Steering Committee is co-chaired by Interim Executive Vice President and Provost Sue Curry and Senior Vice President for Financing Operations Lud Leonards. In 2016, President Harold initially organized 2 groups to oversee both short and long-term goals. Community members are welcome to share their input at a public forum, with the next one taking place on December 4th at Phillips Hall from 6:30 to 8 p.m.
With hopes of advancing one's cultural awareness, the Multicultural Business Student Association is hosting a cultural simulation and discussion. This event will take place from 6:30 to 8 p.m. this evening at the Papa John Business Building in room S181. Attendees will be given a challenge with other group members that will include coming to a mutual understanding about an issue. If you're interested in attending, be sure to RSVP at the Cultural Simulation Facebook page.
Technology and fashion, 2 worlds that typically don't collide. But for one UI student in a local organization, that is the whole idea.
That's right, Sydney. The Fashion Lab of Iowa City and UI senior Erica Cole have partnered together to create garments that involve movement.
And so what we're trying to do is incorporate movement and influence the movement of a garment artificially using motors. So our idea was originally started as, why do people even go to a fashion show in the first place? It's because the way a garment moves is so important to its overall appearance. It's something that you can't get from a photograph.
With that mindset, Cole and the Fashion Lab have been working together to create moving garments by taking designs from ordinary dresses such as a ball gown. The designers have been driven to take these everyday designs and do something to them that hasn't been done before.
So I actually took the ball gown shape and turned it upside down, and I got a flower. So the first garment that'll be shown is a flower that starts as a bud, and as the model walks down the runway, the bud will bloom and blossom into a flower that was inspired by a lily pad flower.
And tonight you have the chance to have an up-close look at these garments in action. This evening at 8:30, the Fashion Lab will be hosting a reveal event at Rad Inc. in downtown Iowa City. The event will also feature drag performances and feature special guests. For more information, you can visit the Fashion Lab's Facebook page.
As the weather gets colder, some people in our community are struggling to stay warm. The Tippie College of Business is trying to combat that. For the past week, the Tippie Senate has been hosting a clothing drive with 100% of the donations going to the Iowa City Shelter House. You can donate new or gently used clothing such as clothes and jackets, as well as other items like trash bags and plastic silverware and sleeping cots. You can drop off your donations at these locations inside the Papa John Business Building until this Friday.
To raise awareness for National Hunger and Homelessness Week, students took the Pentacrest yesterday to make a shocking statement. Organizers arranged flags to form 48%. That represents the 48% of students on campus who are food insecure. The Iowa City Shelter House is also a part of this event, hosting various panels, lunches, and food drives all this week. If you are unable to donate food and clothing items, the Shelter House is also accepting monetary donations, which will directly support to provide a safe space and improve the quality of life for those in the Shelter House. For a complete list of this week's events and to donate to the Shelter House, you can visit their website at shelterhouse.org/homelessness2017. You know, Chris, as it is getting colder, I'm sure it just gets worse in these harsh winter conditions, but overseas, I know some countries are suffering even worse conditions.
That's right, Sydney. Let's go over to Kaylin in the weather studio for the latest in international weather news.
Thank you, guys. In global weather news, the deadliest earthquake of the year hit the Iraq and Iran border. The quake had a magnitude of 7.3 and killed at least 450 people. According to Iranian state media, over 7,000 people have been injured in the devastation. Rescue operations are currently trying to provide food, water, and shelter to thousands of now homeless people. Now moving into our local weather news, we can expect it to warm up just a little today. We're looking at cloudy skies and temperatures around 46 and 47 degrees. Then for tonight, there's a 60% chance of rain showers, and we should see temperatures in the mid-40s. For tomorrow, the high will be around 54 degrees with a slight chance of rain and partly cloudy skies. Now looking at our extended forecast on Thursday, we'll see more partly cloudy skies and a high of 44. For Friday, you might want to have an umbrella on hand as there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms. Temperatures could get up to 56 degrees. Then for Saturday, we can expect partly cloudy skies, a high of 45, and high wind speeds between 25 and 35 miles per hour. Then on Sunday, we'll see some sun in the sky and a high of 40. So while we might not be seeing the warmest weather this week, it still looks like we'll have to wait to see any winter snow. Thank you, guys. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Kaylin. Tomorrow night, the Iowa Memorial Union will host the annual Hawkeye Distinguished Veterans Memorial Ceremony. Each year, a committee of Iowa City veterans select 5 veterans and 1 current UI student to receive the award.
The award was established to honor members of the military who have shown extraordinary service to their community and the Hawkeye community. Recipients are nominated based on their connection to the university, honorable service to the country, received a military accomplishment, and have shown outstanding service to their community.
If you would like to attend the ceremony, it begins tomorrow night at 5 p.m. in the IMU Main Lounge. To nominate someone you believe deserves that award, you can start a nomination by filling out a form on the IMU's website.
A few weeks ago, I attended an educational that celebrated the 25th anniversary of the Iowa Women's Archives. As we touched on a few women and their stories, there is one woman that especially caught my eye, Gusti Coleman, a Jewish woman who fled Vienna as the Nazis started to invade. As a woman of Jewish heritage myself, Coleman's story of bravery touched my heart in a special way. Here is her story. Vienna, Austria, 1938. While life was normal for Gusti Coleman and her family, little could the world predict the events that would strike Eastern Europe in the late 1930s. Hitler's dictatorship was in full action, and he was quickly making his way over to Vienna. Like many Jewish people in Eastern Europe at this time, Coleman's family experienced the early signs of anti-Semitism, such as crude remarks graffitied onto her family's textile store.
The Nazis wrote Jew on the windows, and the Americans protested and said they had to remove it. And my mother was holding the ladder, and they said, let the old Jew sow clean it up. Because, of course, they didn't know that I was Jewish, too.
While Coleman was able to escape during this time, her younger brother Fritz was not so lucky. Fritz was taken to Birkenau, a section of the Auschwitz concentration camp, the most infamous of the Nazi death camps.
He wanted to go to Palestine, and he was on a farm in Germany to learn about agriculture. And they took all the kids from there, there were about 20 of them, to the concentration camp.
Coleman and her husband were able to move to America before events turned for the worse. Her husband went on to be a professor at Cornell College, and they later had 3 children. 15 years ago, Coleman's husband passed away, but at 105 years old, she's still going at it. When I asked Coleman what the key was to a long life, she told me, no smoking, no drinking, watch what you eat, and to keep the partying to a minimum.
Sydney, that is a truly amazing subject with a truly amazing story.
That's right, Chris, and honestly, I could talk about her story for hours. It just fascinates me, but we do have to keep the show rolling.
That's right. Let's toss it over to Will in the sports studio to see the latest in Hawkeye sports news.
It was a tough weekend at Camp Randall, despite another outstanding defensive performance from Josh Jackson, who intercepted his 5th pass in just 2 games. The lack of offense from the Hawks, coupled with Wisconsin's penetrating offensive line, was just too much for Iowa, who dropped 38-14. The Badgers are ranked nationally as one of the top 5 defensive teams in the country, and they certainly showed that on Saturday as they easily stopped the Hawkeye offense. DITV's Lucy Rodin takes a closer look at what went wrong.
For the Iowa offense, the past 2 weeks have been a tale of 2 completely separate teams. Against Ohio State, Iowa was able to put up 55 points on the board and shut down the Buckeye defense. But against Wisconsin, the Hawks fell flat, only producing 66 yards of total offense, which is the lowest in Kirk Ferentz's tenure.
Two totally opposite ends of the spectrum. So, obviously, we want to feel the experience that we had, last weekend again, and not this one again. So, I think we all know what we need to do to move on and learn from it and have the same experience that we had against Ohio State.
With this performance, Iowa football has circled back to the same dilemma it has faced all season: the offense's inability to replicate what the defense is doing on the field.
It's frustrating. We need to be more consistent, on offense. The defense, we got to be more complimentary of the defense. They played a really good game. And it was sometimes where we could have capitalized on a mistake, like a turnover, and we didn't, So it's just a matter of us executing at all positions.
Well, it's kind of been us this season, when our execution, we're not good enough offensively not to execute cleanly. So, little misthrows, little inches make a difference there. And when we do play clean football, we have a chance to do some good things.
Iowa's next opponent, the Purdue Boilermakers, rank in the bottom half of the conference in defense. So the Hawkeye offense will have an opportunity to bounce back. Reporting from Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, this is Lucy Rodin for DITV Sports.
The Hawks' 66 yards of total offense was the second lowest in Iowa football history. Iowa now sits at 3-4 in conference play, so these final 2 games against Purdue and Nebraska are crucial to where Iowa will end up during bowl season. It was a big weekend in Hawkeye sports and an even bigger weekend for individual honors for some Hawkeye athletes. Luka Garza was named the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. Garza had 16 points and shot 100% from the field against Chicago State in the Hawks season opener. In their second game versus Alabama State, Garza had his first collegiate double-double with 11 points and 13 rebounds in just 16 minutes against the Hornets. Iowa's Megan Gustafson was named the Big Ten Player of the Week in the Hawks season opener against Quinnipiac. Gustafson had 16 points and went 7 from 9 from the field in an overtime win against Western Kentucky. Gustafson had a career-high 35 points and 17 rebounds. The forward scored her 1,000th career point against the Hilltoppers. And Josh Jackson picked up his second straight Big Ten Co-Defensive Player of the Week accolade. The junior quarterback had 2 interceptions and forced a fumble in the Hawks' loss to the Badgers. He also added 3 tackles and a pass breakup in Madison. Jackson is the first Hawkeye to ever win Defensive Player of the Week honors in consecutive weeks, and he now leads the nation in interceptions and passes defended. Josh's draft stock is definitely rising, so this weekend's Senior Day matchup against Purdue could possibly be Jackson's last game in Kinnick. The Iowa women's basketball team is 2-0 after advancing in the Hawkeye Invitational. Here's what the team had to say about their strong start.
I think we beat 2 very good basketball teams in Quinnipiac and Western Kentucky, and teams that will most likely both be in the NCAA tournament by the end of the year. I take that, my team's here to compete. My team's here to win, and they're going to put up their best shot all the time.
I think we're in great shape, being able to go back-to-back games, especially the second game going into overtime, kudos to our strength and conditioning coach, Coach D. Just being able to be gritty, we kind of showed that in the past 2 games, and we just got to keep that going, keep that energy, and keep the focus going.
I think we did a great job of playing together this weekend. Obviously, we saw Kathleen go down, so just being ready to step up that for, Wednesday, and get ready to prepare for our next opponent.
The Hawks will be back in action as they take on Northern Illinois tomorrow night at 7 in Carver Hawkeye Arena. Tune in tomorrow for updates from wrestling's media availability today and highlights from the intramural wheelchair basketball game. Guys, back to you at the desk.
That'll do it for DITV. I'm Christopher Cervantes.
And I'm Sydney Zatz. Have a good day, Iowa City.